Ujai, and welcome to the Gated Gates podcast. We're back with you guys with another episode, a very special episode actually, because we switched things up a little bit today. And before we get started and before we get into the wonderful things that we're going to talk about today and the way the show is going to be structured, would like to take the time to acknowledge all the forces in the non-material, the ancestors that are standing behind this great work, all of our ancestors for bringing us together, for everybody on the line, everybody that's watching, everybody that's listening, your ancestors, because some way, somehow, you know, our ancestors are guiding us and, you know, lighting the way through especially all of the darkness that's happening in the world right now, for us to be able to find some light and to connect with one another. So we'd just like to acknowledge all the forces of the powers of nature, all the ancestors, everything that's standing behind this great work. Particularly Nabnabala Musa Moradinabig, the founder of the Earth Center, and the founder or the ancestor, the great ancestor that opened up the doors into the Kemetic world that had been closed off to the rest of the world for some time. So we'd like to acknowledge his all his hard work and his sacrifices and everything he did, and all the other ancestors that are working with him behind the scenes, and all the other powers of nature, the deities, the genies, everything that's standing behind this great work. We would just like to acknowledge that. And on that note, so speaking of Imtom, right? So a lot of people, I think Nugs is trying to get in on the show. She's like, yeah, this is my show tonight. So a lot of people sometimes are confused with what really kind of makes us different in terms of, you know, all of the kind of the things out there that purport themselves or kind of claim themselves to be Kemetic organizations. And we have a structure that goes way, 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 way back, and it's still alive. It's still very much alive and well. And all of us that go back to Merita and report back to the temples, we see it in real time, and we're a part of it in real time. That's where I just got back from. So we know everything that goes into it, and we see everything that goes into it. So for a lot of people, especially newcomers or people that, you know, are newer to the work, sometimes those things aren't as evident or easily identifiable, because for a lot of people, we just seem like a nonprofit. For a lot of people, we just kind of seem like an organization, and a lot of people might be kind of confused by us, or, you know, not really sure for what we do or who we are and all those kind of things. So there's an aspect of the initiation that we call immersion hours. So it's where the younger initiates will commit to spending 2 hours out of their week outside of the classroom with the older initiates. And the older initiates make themselves available to the younger initiates for the younger initiates to be able to learn something. So immersion hours are really about the older initiate making themselves available to the younger initiate for the younger initiate to be able to get something outside of the classroom, because we say that only about 10% of the initiation happens within the classroom and the other 90% happens outside of the classroom. So for a lot of people, they can miss a lot of things if they're not around for certain things, or they're not, you know, in the right place at the right time, per se. That's what really we call timing, or what people misconstrue as good luck. So these two lovely ladies, there's another one off camera, but she's hiding. She's lucky because we only decided to use 2 extra mics instead of all 3. They have immersion hours. So it was around the time where we were going to do the show. So I was like, you know what? Yeah, no problem. So I kind of set a little trap, and I was like, no problem. I was like, you guys can do your immersion hours at that time. I was like, but you guys just have to stay for the duration of the show. So about an hour ago is when I let them know, like, yeah, we're going to do our immersion hours on air, and you guys are going to be in the show for Gate of Gates. And initially they were like, no, you're joking, right? And I was like, no, I'm serious. And here we are. So I figured might as well open it up to Hennesis and Nana, because Hennesis and Nana have just begun the journey of the initiation. They've been in the initiation for about 6 weeks, right? 6 or 7 weeks?
Mm-hmm.
Something like that?
Mm-hmm.
So they've been on the journey for about 6 to 7 weeks. So they're about halfway through the first semester, because each semester is about 12 weeks. So I figured, you know what? Let me open it up to the youngest generation and let them get a little taste of, you know, initiation on the fly. Because the thing about initiation that a lot of people misunderstand is it happens in real time. A lot of people tend to think initiation's gonna happen at a very specific moment in time, or it's only gonna happen this time or that time, and they miss a lot. So here we are. I will open up the floor to Hennesis and to Nana to ask away if they have any questions, because normally, you know, you might do a specific activity or you might be doing something in particular. So we figured, you know, hey, might as well do it on the fly during Gate of Gates. So let me ask you guys a question to maybe break the ice, because I know you guys are terrified. What's been the most surprising thing you guys have learned? Or what's been the most surprising thing that you guys have maybe didn't expect from the material that you've been receiving? Starting from, you know, maybe after the first 2 or 3 classes.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for having us today and, you know, experiencing this with you. So
You're saying that like it's like some sort of like
it's definitely an experience so far, but I'm grateful to be here. So I'm going to start with the first thing that was kind of unexpected was how much it would kind of be so personal, like into my life. I thought we were going to be learning about general things and, you know, obviously how to help other people, but obviously you can't really help other people if you don't know how to help yourself. And so a lot of the things that we're learning is it's focusing on you, you know, it's getting into the parts of yourself that you thought you healed, or you thought you fixed, or you thought you got past, and, you know, you put it under the rug, you put it to the side, even that, and it's kind of coming, all of it is simultaneously coming to the surface. So although at times it can feel amazing to receive all of this information, it can feel overwhelming, but the good part is that, you know, we have a generation, so there's 3 of us that are committed to this, and it's great to have people that you can go through this with and lean on.
So then the most surprising part has been that you have to work on yourself?
Basically.
Like you thought it was just gonna
but like
be
the parts that you thought.
Power Rangers. We just hand you the Mighty Morphin like amulet, and then you just go out there fighting.
I mean, not really, but it was just I didn't know how personal it could get. Everything that you thought was healed or just gone, it's like it's coming to the surface and it's being exposed. So and it's every single time we're in class, and it's things that you would never expect.
Yeah, I think to add on to that, it's like, because the parts of us, or at least for myself, the part of myself that I thought was like healed or fixed, that I had like put a Band-Aid over, this revealed like the errors in that and like where I went wrong. So it surprised me how like practical and real it was. Like I didn't know what to expect. I just kind of came in and I was just like, all right, let me just take it for what it is. I don't know what else I'm doing in my life right now. So, and it actually just became very necessary and real in terms of like the information.
So let me ask you a question based on what you just said. So how much of it have you guys noticed is like a healing journey? Because it sounds like
all of it. All of it. All of it.
Were you expecting that coming in?
I knew that there was a healing aspect, healing, trying to help and heal others, but not necessarily trying to heal certain parts of myself that I thought were done, or like she said, kind of like put a Band-Aid on it, but it's still there. Yeah. Did
you guys consider yourselves people that were in a process of healing or a journey of healing, or people that were working on yourselves before you got here?
Definitely. I would say so. That's part of what led me here.
I thought I was. I thought I was on a journey of healing and confrontation and honesty. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't until I came here that I learned the true meaning of honesty and healing and accountability.
What's made it different, though? What is it about what you've come across in IMTOM that's made that apparent to you? Because to the uninitiated or to somebody that's listening, like if I heard that, I'd just be like, that sounds kind of culty.
Oh.
Like I'd be like, it just kind of sounds like, okay, really? Like really? Like what could it really be?
I think it's also the sense of community and how everyone is taking accountability for themselves and the way that they move. And so you're basically, when you're coming into initiation, you're surrounded by people who are more intelligent than you. And so that gives you the initiative to, if you're surrounded by people who are better, you want to be better. You want to know what are they doing that makes them the way that they are, the way that they move, the way that they speak, and how they carry themselves. So it's really like the energy here, everyone in their energy here, yeah.
So you're saying that it's because everyone is smarter than you? That's why you feel like you have to rise to the occasion to work on yourself?
I mean,
or more intelligent?
Before, I wouldn't really surround myself with people. I didn't have that mentality of surrounding myself with people who are more intelligent than me so that I could, push myself. And I'm constantly here. It's like I'm constantly pushing myself to new limits every single time. And it never stops.
Yeah. And then it is the intelligence, because to add on to that, it's like how they're intelligent. And it's like the people that I see here and how accountable they are for like the information and their history. I think that kind of is what makes it. I think that's what I focus on when I'm here, is just like everyone knows a bit about where they're coming from, and everyone can like look at situation. Not everyone, but my perception of how people have presented themselves is like they can.
Why'd you backtrack?
Because I'm here speaking for everyone. I don't know everyone.
Why did you feel the need? Yeah, you were like, you backtracked off of that fast. You didn't even finish your sentence. You were like, yeah, I take that back. A few people.
I don't know everyone.
To those who apply.
But from those that I've seen, it's like everyone understands the history that they're walking with and that they carry, and then it makes all of the information that we're learning like valuable. Because I feel like I've taken like our history for granted, and I kind of just like, I didn't understand like where it fit. I didn't see it as reliable, but like being able to track it and to think about the situations that we find ourselves in, and to think about it like intellectually and like build that framework to truly analyze situations. It's like, oh no, nah, that knowledge is important, and like these people have it, and I can see how it helps and plays in their lives and makes them better people. So it's like, nah, I do want that for myself.
So then, is it more that you've realized that, because now it seems like you guys have switched from the healing aspect that the initiation puts you through to now that you guys are speaking on the intellectual aspect that the initiation really attacks?
I think it works hand in hand, because when you have specific knowledge as your foundation, then it leads into the healing aspects of yourself. Like, we're learning a lot about accountability, and when you're accountable for yourself, you face yourself, and it helps in the healing process of where you thought you were right, but in reality, you might have been wrong, or things you've done that you thought went well, but then you have to maybe analyze it and look back and analyze yourself and go back to that. So I do think it works hand in hand, but you need that knowledge as the foundation.
Yeah. And like, why you need the knowledge when you learn it. Like, when you learn the information, you understand what you're being held accountable to and like who's holding you accountable. And so it's like, before, for people who have tendencies similar to myself, avoidance tendencies, before you could be like, well, I don't even know if that's even that important. And so it's easy to brush things away then and like kind of hide the truth from yourself. But like now it's like, I can't even do that, because like I know exactly what I'm doing when I do that. And it's like, I know exactly what I'm denying.
So let me ask you guys a question, because who's walking around holding you accountable? Because it sounds like you guys are talking about like all these people that are walking around being like, Hennesis,
well,
did you do this?
Well.
Did you do that? Or Nana, did you do that? Did you do this? Like, has that been your experience? You guys can be honest. Has that been your experience? Like, do you feel like people are walking around being like, Hennesis, did you do this? Nana, did you do that?
Well, personally for me, people have always, especially in my family, they've always been holding me accountable for things.
I meant like
now.
I meant like an M-Tom.
No.
I meant like within the initiation, within the structure. I don't mean like, in your personal lives per se.
Okay.
I mean like, has that been your guys' experience? Has it been your experience where people are being like, hey, make sure you do this, or hey, make sure you do that, or all this kind of stuff outside of class?
No.
I mean, we check on each other. That's all we do. Like,
what? Are you lying?
No, because that person is my family. Technically, it's my personal life. It's not in this structure, so nobody holds me accountable here. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know what you're talking about, but okay. Sounds like you're alluding to something, but we're not gonna
You
go
said nothing
there.
personal, so no,
Yeah.
nobody here in the structure holds me accountable.
Well, only because the only reason why I ask is because, accountability partners or like accountability things. Like, you could be like, okay, I'm going to the gym, and then now I'm gonna go get my friend who also needs to go to the gym, and then we're gonna hold each other accountable. Because the interesting thing is, you touched on like thinking you come into this and then you're kind of given things to kind of go out and then heal the world, or you're given things to go out and really use it to just kind of like you have this like golden orb or the infinity stones or whatever it is, like you gain this thing here, and then now you're supposed to go out and like use it on other people or fly or do whatever, like become a superhero. But the interesting thing is that when you have someone else to kind of hold you accountable, like it's so much easier to do things for other people. so much easier to do things when there's someone else on the line. But if you're doing something solely for yourself, you're doing something completely removed from being reliant on somebody else. Meaning like, okay, you've never been to the gym. You're going to go to the gym for the first time by yourself. No one's expecting you to be there. No one's holding you accountable. No one's going to be asking you about it. That's difficult. Like working on yourself, like a self-starting process of self-analyzation, of self-reflection, of just self-accountability or accountability for the self. It's very difficult. That's damn near impossible. Like when you're doing something for yourself, that's difficult. But when you're doing something for your job, okay, I understand the incentive. When you're doing something for somebody else, okay, you understand the incentive. So the question I asked you guys before is kind of like a trap. Because I asked you, is there anyone walking around holding you accountable in this? And you guys said no.
Well, I said we hold each other accountable.
Who? Like
our generation.
Your generation?
In terms
How?
of like our...
How do you guys hold each other accountable?
Like,
now Idara's looking like she wants a mic.
There's many cases, you know. There's like a huge spectrum of how we hold each other accountable. It could, you know, be something really small or
like
like last study session last week.
What happened?
I brought up a personal experience and I was held accountable for the way I was like looking at the situation, and I was like reminded about like how honest I really needed to be with myself. And like, although it wasn't the response I wanted,
just let Nugs.
it was
It's
the
okay. Let
response I
Nugs.
it's
needed.
Nugs water now.
Nugs is trying to get in the show and drink Hennessis water.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or Hennes water.
Hennesis water.
Yeah,
Hennesis
because
water.
before we turned on,
Why?
before we went live, Hennesis was sitting here trying to give us all a grammatical class on the fact that because her name ends in an S, you don't have to add an additional S. And she was like, you don't say Hennessis.
Yeah.
You just say Hennesis.
Thank you.
And then you just say Hennesis water.
Yeah.
Yeah, but whatever.
Don't forget the apostrophe after the.
Yeah, but no one can see the apostrophe, so you have to say the S. But so then that process has been occurring within your guys' generation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the reason why I like to hold them accountable is because.
But hold on, before you go too far, why do you feel like you're in a position to hold them accountable?
Well, we're a reflection of each other, and we're all mirrors. And so the way, if I'm the mayor of the generation, and so
What's that?
basically,
To the uninitiated, you got to explain it.
well, it's basically like the leader of the generation. I'm basically helping them along the way, and I'm trying to carry them to the finish line. They all have their individual positions that also contribute to the generation, but that's mine. And so
Is she like a dictator?
no.
I
care a lot
is she
about
like a
my-
dictator
Lord.
in the generation?
He wants this to be Joe.
Because
Can we answer the first question?
The way Hennesis is going, I'm like, she's like,
I'm very direct.
I'm holding them accountable.
Yes, it's very important to hold them accountable, but I do it in a very honest, open, and loving way. I never do it as like, you're wrong, or, you know, don't do this or don't do that. It's more like, we're working as a unit, we're working as a team, and we all have to have one goal. And so as a structure, and there's specifically 3 of us, if one person does or doesn't do something that can help us, it can, you know, interfere with the structure, and it can fall. So it's very important for all of us to hold each other accountable. It's not just me, but I do it because, you know, like I said, we're a mirror of each other, we're a reflection of each other, and anything that they do, whether it's both of them together or individually, it's a reflection of me as well. And so I like us to all be on the same page and move towards one goal. So that means holding them accountable.
So now let me turn the question to you guys,
Okay.
and then say, how do you guys hold Hennesis accountable?
I mean, I think like if I feel like if there's something to be addressed, you just address it. Yeah, like if you want to remind somebody of like how they're presenting and they may not know, then you just let them know. Yeah.
And I
It's really
appreciate,
casual.
I appreciate both of them for that. Because the way that they do it, it's never in a way that's like me versus you. It's like we always focus on why we have to move in the same direction. And it's always in like a, hey, I noticed this, you know, usually you might not do this or you might carry yourself this way. Maybe next time you might want to do this, or, you know, it's always like in a nice, it's in like a respectful way. Yeah.
So this is where you guys are now making it interesting for me, right? So the interesting thing is that I think you guys, because you guys are 6 weeks in, you guys are going through the process, and maybe you guys are looking at each other and then saying like, okay, you know, it's important for us to hold each other accountable. But now let me ask you guys a question. How do you hold yourselves accountable?
I hold myself accountable by the way that I'm not just thinking about myself when I come here. Even though this is about my evolution, I have to understand that I'm still a part of a structure and that I have to play my role. And so I'm always thinking, okay, if I do this, this is how it will affect the group. If I don't do this, this is how it'll affect the group. I'm always thinking about the bigger picture. I'm not just thinking about myself. Constantly, I'm always trying to hold myself accountable and how it could affect them.
It's so interesting you asked that question, because I kind of recently started a new way of holding myself accountable. Like when I first started classes, it was just like showing up, and then showing up wasn't enough anymore. And so it was like, what's like, I guess, the next step? And I was encouraged and held accountable to the information I was receiving. And so going back, I realized I had to start asking myself serious questions of like how I wanted to show up and how I wanted to like fight this battle within myself to be a better version of myself. And I just started asking myself this question, like every time I realize like negative habits or old habits that I'm trying, like I tell myself I'm trying to change, but like coming up, I just started asking myself like, who do I want to be and how do I want to be? And like, I don't always have an answer, but even just asking myself that question just like forces me to pause, and it like changes the dynamic within me. And that's what I've started doing.
The reason why I ask is because you guys were speaking about the process even within MTOM in a way where you guys were maybe, when you came into it, you were maybe thinking about it from a kind of like the way you would maybe see things done in like kind of like a movie, where it's like, okay, you come in and then you're given the like, you know, the object, and then now you take this object and then you go out into the world and you utilize it. Whereas that it seems that the big aspect that maybe gets overlooked a lot, and I think this is the reason why the world maybe is in such the dire place that it is in today, which is that people are neglecting themselves, and people neglect themselves to the benefit of what the society would like you to do in order for the society to benefit. Whereas that there's no real community, and there's this real aspect of, you know, you need to put the things that make you who you are to the side, and you need to not focus on what actually makes you you, what actually is you, and then you focus on the things that, you know, are there for other people. Because when you guys say that you guys were thinking that you were going to get this stuff and then go out and help people, how exactly were you going to help people?
Right.
Like, what does helping people really look like in what you guys had in your mind before you came into MTOM, and then it maybe started the shift in terms of the way you guys were looking at things? What was helping people?
Well, I was based off of my experience and my exposure, because I was here for about 7.5 months before I decided to join initiation.
You were here where?
At the temple, or at
Or
events.
just around?
Just around.
Yeah.
At events.
Because you can't consider yourself an initiate until
Right.
it begins.
Right. So, yeah, I was definitely an outsider, and I was observing a lot. And I just knew that based off of my exposure that I was in a place where it was a sense of community and it was a sense of helping other people. But obviously I didn't know specifically how I was going to be doing it because I still don't have all of the knowledge, So, but I did know that was kind of like the goal. I still don't, I guess now that's a good question. I don't know specifically how yet.
Well, if tomorrow you got to go out there and you got to start helping people, how are you going to do it?
I don't know. Tell them to look at themselves.
That's it? So
I don't know.
you're going to go out there like a street performer with a mirror and then be like, look at yourself.
That sounds like an interesting social experiment. That should go on
That
YouTube.
Oh, yeah?
Yes.
We should do that as our next comedic man with a sign. Just you go out there with a mirror and you say, look at yourself. Instead
and
of
see people's reactions, how they're going to react.
What do you see?
What comes up from that?
Yeah.
Right.
Like, I see me?
I don't
I
know.
don't know.
That was a good question, though, yeah.
But seriously, though, tomorrow, I tell you, go out. Now start helping people.
So, I think a lot of people think that when you help others, it's like a specific kind of image. I think the best way to help others is like, you need to help, like I said, you need to help yourself first. You need to change yourself first. And the way that you carry yourself and that energy that you have, other people will see it. Because you can't force people if they don't want the help. You can't force the knowledge. You can't, force that. You can't, I've tried to help people innocently, and I've learned like the hard way. You have to let them just.
Did it work?
Mm-hmm. They'll come if they want to, because it doesn't matter how much. It doesn't matter
forcing
how much.
them, as you were saying.
It just doesn't matter how much you tell them, how much you inform them. Like if they're not in that right mental space to be ready to help themselves, they're not going to take that. Yeah.
So. There's a question from Yatepia, Jai Yatepia, Jai Bixa.
Jai.
See you guys all the way
Jai.
out there in Coventry. There's a new question, but we'll get to it. But the question was from Yatepia, and it's, what has been your most difficult challenge?
You want to start?
But before you guys get to that one, the question from Irita is your hairstyles. Is it a generational thing?
No, no. Ujjayi, by the way, I did notice that before we got on here that we are twinning. We are twinning,
aren't we?
But is there some sort of memo that was put out for the 6th gen?
No, I came into
you guys have to.
No, sir.
Did you miss that memo, Idana? You missed it?
No, it's not too late. But
join the crew.
It's funny. I actually told her she would look really cute with that, but
they're trying to shave your head, Idana?
No, but like a full.
So it is a generation thing.
Who knows? Nice. Who knows? She might change her mind.
So it is a generation thing.
We'll see.
Yeah. What's been your most difficult challenge aside from coordinating your hairdos?
That was the easy part. Okay, so, all right, I'll start. So for me, number one, I did not expect to be voted as the mayor at all. Like I did not see that coming.
I'm gonna call BS.
No, I'm serious. I did not expect to. It was definitely a turn of events.
I wasn't there for when your generation elected officers.
Yeah.
Did you put yourself up for it?
So yes, I'm gonna say.
Okay,
hold on. Wait. There's a reason. Hold on.
I did not expect to be elected.
Wait, let me explain
what happened. I put my name forth.
Wait, let me explain what happened.
And then was elected.
The first time that they voted, my teacher voted for me.
Your
and
teacher?
then yeah, my teacher actually had voted
The
for
teacher-
me
the
because I
teacher
didn't know
voted?
because I didn't want to
Oh, what?
vote. I didn't want to vote for.
I need to talk to the teacher. The teacher was a part in the vote?
So I
Not
didn't want.
officially.
Yes, there,
His
let me
tally didn't go
finish.
on
Let
the
me
board.
finish. Right, let me finish. So the first time he wanted to vote for me because I just didn't. I didn't know. I didn't want to choose myself, and then I. Okay, so I didn't want to choose myself, and then at that time it was only like what 3 weeks. 3 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
and
3 or 4.
yeah, there was not.
It's Fat Cat. Can you let him in? Because we don't want him to start get picked up on the
Yes.
audio. Go
Can I
ahead.
please have some water as well? Thank you.
Oh, now you
So,
want water.
Yeah, because the other cat drank some of mine. So, but yeah, so I did not vote for anyone the first round, and then the second round, everyone was other like initiates were kind of putting their input into it, and then we did a second vote, and
Wait,
that
other initiates? You mean like who?
they had like
See, it's all coming out now.
no, they didn't vote for anyone. They just had certain opinions about who they thought would be after it was done.
What do you mean?
And
who?
so-
Who is this? Who are these people?
Just who was in the room.
Who was in
I
the room?
actually I don't
During
remember
the
everyone that
class.
was in the room.
Yeah.
But the second round.
But you remember what happened, but
I
you
do.
don't remember
I don't
who
remember.
was in the room?
There was actually every time we're in class, there's a lot of people in our class, like even visitors from who want to learn. So there was just a lot of people, and I don't remember specifically everyone.
Sounds like it was some election tampering, like what's going on with Trump right now.
So the second time that we did the vote, I actually did vote for myself, and that was because I realized in
The
that
Kebtah
moment
Trump.
I could not. Please don't say that.
Yeah.
I could not run away from what was already decided for me. So the second time they still voted, and I was like, okay, based off of all of my experience here and, you know, there was certain, thank you. There was like uncertainty on certain parts in our generation. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to stop. So to answer her question, that was one of the biggest challenges was there was no more time to basically run away from facing myself and see, okay, this is what it has come to. This is the reality of the situation. And then after that, just basically, I remember I was speaking to Idara on the way home, and I was like, this is gonna take some time for me to digest because of the responsibility and the weight that comes with this. So,
Oh, trust me. I'm waiting for you. I'm waiting for you
at the finish line.
down the road. Because, I mean, like, being the mayor is awful.
Dang.
So,
Everyone says that.
I mean, I
Yeah,
did
it
tell
is.
them that, you know, like, don't see it as like, you know, it's like the best job in the world, and it's like always a fun time. You have to make decisions that not everyone is going to like. You have to make decisions that, you know, people are not going to be fond of, but it's for the best for the generation. Yeah, that's one of the biggest challenges. It's always looking 10 steps ahead, and always, you never ever think about yourself. Maybe other people might have that, you know, luxury, but as the mayor, you don't ever. You always have to lead, which means you have to lead by example, which means if anyone in your generation, like I said, does or doesn't do something, it's always your fault because you're the one leading. So
now I'm interested to see how what you would say your most difficult challenge is if I take the mayor position from you.
okay.
Because it sounds like everything you said and everything that you centered around was being the mayor.
Being a leader, yeah. I've always ran from that position because that's something that's always been given to me, but I never wanted it because I knew what came with it. Like every job that I had, they're like, you should be the manager. You should, every job. And I'm like, I see what you go through. I don't want to. And then here we are. But it's still facing myself. I feel like if I wasn't the mayor, like these two ladies, they still hold me accountable. You know, they still hold me accountable whether I'm the mayor. Like I always actually tell them, like, just because I'm the mayor, it doesn't mean that I know more. It doesn't mean that I'm better. You know what I mean? It just means my responsibility is just different it's a little bit heavier than everyone else, but we're all starting at the same time. We're all learning things at the same time.
So let me ask you this. Is leading about talking about it, or is it about being about it?
You just have to be about it. It's just the way the way that you move. And I'm learning that sometimes sometimes there's just things that don't need to be said. It's just the way that you carry yourself, and whoever wants to see it and follow will.
So what's been your biggest challenge, Nana? Or what's been the most difficult challenge?
Not getting overwhelmed with the responsibility, and not being...
What responsibility?
Oh my God, the responsibility that comes with knowledge and with knowing what initiation is about and the purpose of us being... Can I talk about something?
Yeah.
And what the responsibility is that comes with being a human being and being reincarnated, and like
you guys have gone into reincarnation already?
A bit, yeah.
A bit.
Yeah.
It's not like it's a foreign,
I need to talk to your teacher. More and more things are coming out. Okay,
And he told us it was a trap, so.
So, yeah, just like understanding that there's roles that I have to play as an entity that exists in existence. And it's just like, can I do that? And it's not even a matter of can I do that. It's like, you have to.
You have no other kind of, yeah. Once you know certain things, which goes back into accountability. Once you know certain things, it's like, now that you know, you can't act like you don't know.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you just like talked to me in a fortune cookie.
I did?
Yeah. Like, because you didn't, like, she at least made it like super personal.
Damn.
In terms of being like, I'm the leader. It's hard being the leader. Like, you don't know how hard my job is as a leader. And like, man, it's hard. Like, the leadership chose me. I didn't choose leadership. And other people forced me into this, right? So then what?
No.
Because you just said like, man, it's hard because you figure out you got a role to play.
Yeah, you got responsibilities.
Like, so,
you can't.
wait, but what does that mean though? Because I mean, to the uninitiated, that means nothing. That's like, what are you talking about? What roles do you have to play? Like, what are you going to the, like, you got a role to play, like what, you're an actor?
No.
You got a role to play, like what, you go play Santa Claus at the mall?
I gotta learn who I am. I gotta learn what the history is of my people, and I have to like understand what our traditions and our values are, and understand what it was that we did that helped us navigate through reality and life, and like stop taking on these practices and these habits that I got from like society and from colonialism that is actually to my detriment. And I feel like that's the hard part, because that's it's ingrained, and I have like this, you know, emotional attachment to it, because this is how I've shaped my identity. This is how I define myself. And it's like, I literally have to break all this down and do all this hard work to like become a different person. And it's like, I want to be a better person, but I don't want to do the work. And I realize, no, excuse me. I didn't want to do the work.
No, but that's, hold on. But that's real.
But that's honest, yeah.
Time out. That's really real, because a lot of people don't admit that.
Yeah.
Because, you know, people will come in and then find out like, okay, you know, I've been alive for 28 years. I've been alive for 23 years or 42 years or 63 years. And then they come to find out like, okay, like we say, there's a phenomenal teacher within MTOM that talks about this a lot. And he says that eventually what happens is you wake up and you realize that the modern society has made you live a life next to life, but you haven't actually lived life. And for a lot of people, they don't realize that they haven't lived life. And that they're living, or they have lived a life that's next to life and is not actually life. Now, what that means is, and I think this is what you were trying to explain, is that the identity that you claim to have, because a lot of people, one of the first few things you talk about when you ask them certain things, when you come across them in the street, is, what do you do?
Yeah.
And then that is tied up in so many people's identities. And then even Hennesis is out here talking about like her whole identity is about being a leader. And like she's already like, my identity, leadership. I've evaded it my whole life. But it's like, I'm joking, but like it's
Yeah, I know.
what it is like we tie our identities to things that
Right.
are not real, are
Mhm.
not tangible.
That's a really
But
good
to
point.
us, they seem very real. They seem very tangible because it's what you see on TV, because it's what you hear in music. It's what you are exposed to and conditioned to think is you. But then the real question becomes, then who are you? And what are you?
That's the hard part, because before this, that question would put me in a spiral, get me anxious, because I wouldn't always know, and then I would just land back on like a comfortable identity, like,
Right.
you know.
But you said something really interesting. You said, now you have to unravel that false identity and do the work. And then you even said it, because a lot of people won't admit it, that it's work. And that's why a lot of people run from ancestral veneration. Because ancestral veneration means that you have to take accountability for who you are. And you have to take accountability for who your ancestors are and what your ancestors did, how they lived, how they interacted with the existence, how the existence interacted with them, how they moved through life, what they set aside, what they passed down, what they thought was important to focus on, what they thought was important to cultivate, what they thought was important to say, hey, you know what? These are the things which are going to ensure our survival, our continued existence within the existence past the dualities of life and death. These are the things that we can pass along. But once you start, hey, you get, just like knock her out of here. She can't unplug she'll pull the thing down. Yeah, the cat is trying to pull the cords. The
She
kitten.
wants to be a part of the podcast.
Yeah. So the interesting thing is like that's a very difficult process to own. And a lot of people don't don't admit that they don't want to go through that process. But I think you were honest enough to tell us, like, yeah, you know what? Like, damn, I really don't want to do it.
Yeah.
She's still agreeing.
I'm
It's just
still
that-
sitting here like I don't want to do it.
Not that I do. I just have to tell myself, like, don't look at the end. Stop trying to see what it's going to look like at the end, because I can't possibly fathom it. And that's what's giving me a lot of anxiety. It's just like, as I keep being reminded, just focus on yourself. Focus on the day-to-day. Focus on your thoughts. Like, that's a thing in, like, the New Agey world that I kind of already had when I came to initiation to the MTEM school. And so I was just like, okay, focus on my thoughts. Let's do that. And, like, having the new information and the new questions and tools that I have, that's how I'm, like, paying attention to my thoughts. That's all I'm doing right now. This is what we're, like, I just can't look at the end. When I look at the end, I'm like, I'm never going to make it. And I might as well just stop now.
Damn.
Yeah.
It's a terrible inner monologue.
It's just, yeah. Sorry.
Has initiation so far, has it helped you with that kind of mindset? And those thought
Not yet.
processes?
Not yet.
Not even a little bit? Not even a little bit?
Your generational MERS.
I'm just asking her. I'm just
accountable.
asking her a question. Just asking her a question.
It's helped me frame it to remember that it's not about me. While I have to focus
Is she
on
in
me,
the frame?
it's not all about me.
Nugs, get out of here.
It's not nice.
Oh,
Look, just leave the cat. Just leave the cat. Because she
okay.
thinks you guys are playing with her. But,
She does.
But go ahead.
She
Go
does.
ahead.
okay.
It's just helped me remember a bigger picture. And I think, like, being with people and reminding myself, like, they're also going through their own similar processes, it helps me, like, not get so dark. It's like, bro, if they can do it, if some people have already been doing it, then why not me?
That's better.
Yeah.
That's better.
That's an acceptable answer for Hennesis.
That's better.
Your
yeah.
MER accepts that answer.
I support that. Yeah. That's
The this you guys are giving her way too much attention,
She loves
and
it.
that's why she's acting like that. So, aside from chasing the cat around, because the cat keeps interrupting the show, so let me ask you guys a question, because now I think you opened up an interesting thing, because you said that you have to tell yourself, like, okay, if I focus on the end result, then I completely put myself in this like vacuum or chasm where I am like, you're never going to be able to do it. And then you kind of take a self-defeatist approach.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, if you're being honest about your process, then that's important, because it at least puts you in a position to be able to adjust it, right?
Yeah.
But let me ask you this. So then, what do you think is the actual thing that you think you're trying to reach or you're trying to achieve? What is the end result? Because I want to hear what you guys are going to say, and then I will tell you if that's the thing or not.
Okay. I think for me, like when I'm looking at the end goal, it's just like no longer living a life like against. I don't even really know. Like I guess.
Just leave her. It's okay. Just leave her.
Just like having a family and like having a life that's aligned with nature and aligned with the way that I'm supposed to be as a human being, and I don't have to worry about what of my actions is actually evil, or what of my actions supports corruption, or what of my actions is killing me from the inside out. It's just like eating good food, living in a healthy environment, having all the knowledge, or having enough of the knowledge to gain more, and being able to like teach that to my children, and just kind of like having a handle on my emotions and understanding how to move forward and what the next step needs to be. Just kind of like having it all together, I guess. Yeah.
You picked a very opportune time to drink some water, Hennesis. What about you? What does that look like? Because everyone has it, whether they admit it or not. In their mind, everyone has the thing that they're trying to achieve, whether they admit it or not. So then what was that in your mind when you, even now, what is that thing in your mind?
I feel like my goal is to...
She's going to give us an answer that's coming from class, but okay, go ahead.
No, I think it's honestly because I didn't even have a goal before I came into this, because I didn't know what I was genuinely coming into. And now, due to certain like exposure and just from observing and learning from other people here, honestly, even though this is about my evolution, and it's not really like entirely about me. Like I didn't even know how important.
She's unplugging your headphones. Keep going.
Oh, okay. So I didn't understand the value of everyone that came before me. And so, okay. Hey, girl. Okay. So yeah, I didn't understand the value of everyone who came before me, and I wouldn't even be here without them. And so right now, my goal is to just focus on honoring, acknowledging, and understanding my ancestors and how they thought and how they moved and how they understood the world, and kind of using that as, not like a cheat code, but just using that like as the foundation of like how I move. I don't know the future. I don't know you know, because when you're saying what's my goal for the future, like I can't control that, you know, like she said, I take it one day at a time. Every single day there's a new challenge. Every single day there's a part of myself, like she said, that I'm unraveling and that I thought was, or I didn't even know was there in the first place. But for me personally, my goal in this journey is to just, you know, just focus on what my ancestors did because it worked. It worked. And so why would I want to turn the cheek to what they did that worked? You know, why would I? That just wouldn't even be intelligent of me, you know? And ever since I did start this journey, my life has took like a complete turn. Everything that I thought, because I was only thinking really about myself and not acknowledging my ancestors, I thought it was the right way. But it always led to like a dead end. And now that I'm acknowledging them, so many doors are opening up for me, you know? So yeah, that's really what I'm focusing on. That's what my goal is.
But at what point did you realize, like, okay, focusing on myself is focusing on my ancestors?
Ooh. Okay. Focusing on myself is focusing on my ancestors. So I think for me, it was when I lost my grandfather, and I realized when we all went to go see him, it was kind of like the world stopped. And mostly every single person in my family went to go see him. And it was very interesting to see everyone. And usually we don't really see each other, but it was unfortunately because of a death, literally almost everyone was there. And so I saw everyone in the room and I was like, wow, like this is a product of his sacrifice. This is a product of his hard work. This is a product of everything that his father and his father's father and so on carried. Like I saw the result, you know? So it was really in that moment, unfortunately it was a loss, but I gained so much. And ever since that, you know, that moment, when I had to witness that and experience that, it changed how I saw everything. And once he was gone, everyone that I've ever lost, I never really experienced it like that. But when I saw it in person and experienced it in that way, it was like, I just experienced the value. I gained an actual like ancestor, like in real time. Like,
when was this?
This was, he died on the 5th of May.
Oh, so this was recent.
Yes. This is very recent, and this happened very coincidentally, you know, in this journey of joining initiation. I think that
Initiation.
Sorry. Initiation. I need some water.
You're Miss Grammar. So you're out here giving us the grammatical corrections.
Initiation.
You're like initiation.
Yeah, so it coincidentally happened as I started this journey, and it's so funny because literally the whole point of this is to acknowledge and honor your ancestors. And so I gained one along the way, and I know it's very cheesy and cliche to say everything happens for a reason, but yeah.
So you feel like your grandfather's spirit is the reason why you're like you're focusing on your ancestors now? I'm not saying that's wrong.
No.
Right. I'm just asking.
I think that because of his loss and the timing of it, it shined the light on how important it is to have that foundation within your life, because even after he's gone, the result of his hard work and sacrifice is still here. You know, and I wouldn't even be here right now if it wasn't for him. Maybe, and he probably didn't even plan for this to happen for me, but that's just how amazing it is to have such a powerful, stable foundation is where it leads you, you know? So, yeah.
I see you're over here chilling and bobbing your head to the music that's playing in your head. But at what point do you feel like it became about what she's talking about? Or do you feel like it became that point? I'm posing that same question to you. At what point do you think do you feel like you've learned that, where focusing on yourself becomes about focusing on your ancestors?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, not definitely, but yeah, I do think that, because you know, from everything we've been learning, it's like you are your ancestors are you. And it's like, we've been told so many times, like, it's through their actions that's steering us in these directions. Like, our ancestors are the reason we're all here in this room together. Like, they brought us here, and it's like they want us to be here for a reason. So I have something.
I gotta talk to my ancestors for sticking with you guys. Keep
We're
going.
great.
Keep going. I'm joking. I'm only joking.
And yeah, it's definitely about them. I feel like I need to learn more, and I apologize for forsaking them for so long.
So then again, I'm gonna go back to what you guys were saying, what I was asking you guys.
Mm-hmm.
So then what is the goal?
I'll try to go in deeper.
What do you think is the goal? What do you
Right.
think is the goal of MTOM?
Okay, I think it's to teach you how to honor your ancestors, you know, how they walked in this world, how they communicated with nature, how they use nature, how they fit into nature, really. I feel like that's honestly just it's as simple as that. That's really the goal. As long as you have that as your foundation, everything that follows, you know, it should go well. it should go well. Yeah. Because if it worked for them, it should work for you. And like she said, we are them, they are us, we are one. So it's like, you know, if they're basically paving the way for you, all you have to do is just like, if they're passing the baton to you, all you have to do is take it, right?
And continuing to pave the way for the next in line. Ooh, it's a heavy weight.
Yeah, it's a lot. The thing is, it is a lot of responsibility, you know, but the thing is, I think for us, we think it's a lot of responsibility because the way that we grew up in this society, we never once looked at it that way. That for them, it's normal, you know, to just pass the baton, to carry on the bloodline, to carry on the legacy, you know, of whatever they were doing. But for us in this society, all we do is think about ourselves and what benefits us and what makes us happy. And we base everything on how we feel and not, you know, we don't focus on what's the bigger picture or what's the best for, you know, the family. So for us now coming into this after 25, 26 years, you know, we think like, oh my gosh, responsibility, accountability, honesty, like all of these things that we've never even thought about confronting is now hitting us all at once. So that's probably why it feels like that.
Yeah, the goal. Yeah, the goal is definitely to honor, to venerate, and to walk into their footsteps, the footsteps of our ancestors.
I really want to hear Idara's answer to this.
Oh, me too.
Because the look on
Yes, you.
Idara's face is what's making me really want to know. But Idara's looking because she's off camera. But the reason why I ask is, have you guys ever looked at the Earth Center website?
A couple times, yeah.
So then, do you guys know what it says about the goal of MTOM?
Preserving the earth. I don't know if that's the
I didn't
exact
ask you the
word.
translation.
Oh, sorry.
That was good though. Well,
But
you were
that was on the website. It was there.
Yeah, I know what MTOM translates to.
The last time I was like on the website, it was months
That's
ago.
not what I'm asking.
The last time I was on the website, it was like a couple of months ago. So no, I actually don't remember
See,
specifically.
This is a good opportunity for you guys to look it up and to go on the website and to see even what we say is the goal of MTOM, or even the mission statement of MTOM, because it's there. It's on our website. It's on the earthcenter.org.
I shall
So-
check it out.
I'm not even asking you guys something that
I feel like that was in the mission
anyone.
statement.
Was it?
Let me reread.
Huh?
Let me reread it.
I think you guys should reread it
Yeah.
because I was gonna answer it, but based on where you guys took it, I'm like, you guys don't even know the mission statement. Oh, interesting. So we're just gonna we're just gonna leave it at that.
Okay.
Because there's even things like if you guys are lucky enough to be around some of the initiates that even were around when Master Naba was still around physically, when he was still around physically.
Right.
There's some quotes that he has in terms of what he was trying to do.
Okay.
So, I'm just going to leave that there. Because there's things, there's resources, but maybe you guys just haven't, had the timing to be around in those places.
Well, look at that.
Okay.
Huh?
You're here helping us. The timing is perfect.
I'm not dropping
the timing is perfect.
I'm not dropping it, and I'm
Maybe
not going
that's
to
why we're
say
here.
it because,
No, you don't
just-
have to. Yeah, but
just
yeah.
a little prelude to,
Right.
class, just like,
Okay.
just things to think about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Idara's over there like, wait a second.
Idara is the one that looks everything up for us.
Idara
actually.
definitely knows.
The etymology of everything and
No, I saw
the
it.
meaning
I
of
saw
everything.
it. I saw it when you guys were in class last
Yeah.
week,
Yes.
and then even the way you tried to like alley-oop it to Idara.
Alley-oop?
Yeah, you were like, yeah, because Idara was talking about this,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Hey, what were you saying
I
about
was
that?
basically
Idara?
trying to help her talk a little bit more in class because I don't want to take up basically the whole class. Like I want her to participate more. So that was like a kind of a jokingly way to be like, because she says a lot, she knows a lot. She's very intelligent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She just doesn't do it for herself, That's
I
why
didn't say-
that's why you have to do it for her.
No, I was just trying to
Yeah.
nudge her a little bit. You got this. She got this. Yeah.
But the reason why I ask is because I think even you guys are newer to this, so I'm gonna give you a pass. But I think the thing that maybe some people kind of get caught up on is the fact that there's like clear cut guidance and clear cut just explanations in terms of like, okay, what imtam is and what the goal of imtam is and what even Master Naba was looking to achieve and what he was trying to do and how he was functioning and all of those kind of things. So it's not like the stories aren't accessible for you guys, but I would just challenge you guys to maybe find out about what those things are. Because if you guys are having the vision in your mind in terms of like, because you clearly spoke of like an end result envisioned for yourself. So then if you have an end result envisioned for yourself, then you have to kind of think about where that aligns or where that falls with what the path has been laid out for you to walk.
Okay.
Because we say you'll never find a path without a destination, and you'll never find a destination without a path. So if you guys are here and you guys are saying you're walking this path, then you have to be sure that what you're envisioning even aligns with the path in and of itself. Because even if you think you're walking south, if you're heading toward the direction where the sun sets and you're walking in that direction, no matter what you're thinking in your mind will have no deterrent based on the direction your feet are heading in. So regardless of what you think, the path is going to take you to its destination. So I'm just want you guys to think about that and maybe look into that and maybe look into what, is actually the destination or what this path really entails. Because I don't want you guys thinking it's, Hennesis getting the infinity stones to go out and then use them on helping people, and then it's gonna give you the thing that you're envisioning in your mind in terms of what you described. Because it may be that, but it may not be that. But the only way you guys are going to be able to really kind of figure that out is that if you guys really start thinking about what the path is and what the path was set out for and who was walking this path before, and if they even have any insight in terms of what that path entails. Because that's the only way you guys are going to be able to put yourselves in a position to maybe achieve whatever it is that you guys are looking to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
Get what I'm saying?
I think. Mm-hmm.
Just something to think about.
Yeah.
Just little. But let's see. I know there was a question here from our most loyal viewer, Matthew Ruta. Shout out, Matthew Ruta. Hope the Toronto Temple is treating you well, Sen. He said this might be off topic, but are we going to address the jihadist attacks in Burkina Faso? How safe are the temples there? Are you speaking about like a recent jihadist attack? Because I'm not too maybe I'm not too up to date, because I didn't know there was like a recent jihadist attack. But you know, if there have you guys ever seen The Dark Knight?
Mm-hmm.
So like, you know, when the Joker like takes over the city, and then what's his name? That guy says to the lady, Rachel, he's like, okay, we have to get you somewhere safe. And then he's like, what does he say? He's like, no, she's like, honestly, the safest place in the city is Bruce Wayne's penthouse, because he's Batman, right?
Mm-hmm.
So she knows, like, okay, Batman's like home is gonna be the safest place. Like, if there was something that is happening, then realistically, like, one of the safest places is gonna be at the temple.
Mm.
So yes, the temples are safe. Yeah, he said there was a recent 70 people killed in a village.
Oh my God.
The attack took place in the village of Zaongo. I don't know, Kenny Basha, if you could pull that up. I don't have the information in front of me entirely, so I can't really speak on it for you, Matt. But we'll look into it and get back to you. I don't know what part of Burkina Faso that is, or what exactly happened, but we'll look into it, and we'll get back to you.
Mm-hmm.
But quick word from our sponsor before I forget to do it. Sauce Hot Sauce began in 2007 when a small group of students traveling in West Africa were trying to think of ways to support charitable projects. One of the students traveling happened to be an artisanal hot sauce chef, and right there, Sauce Hot Sauce was born. Since then, Sauce Hot Sauce has prided itself on making exceptional artisan hot sauces with high-quality ingredients to support good causes. We continue to do this with the best and tastiest offering of sauce flavors to date, with a focus on supporting displaced families in the Fara and Gorma region of Burkina Faso with the revenue from our sales. Sauce Hot Sauce. It's perfect for you. We got Vanna White over here, because the way you did that was like, bah. So, yeah, Sauce Hot Sauce, it's great, and it supports a great cause. So, you should pick some up. You should buy some. It's really good. Everyone has their different flavor of what they like. You got the attack. Yeah, so fill us in.
I gotta mute you for a second.
Yeah, go for it.
All right, Ujai. So, let me pull this up. So in Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso, there was some assailants in northern Burkina Faso that killed about 70 people, most of them children and elderly, in a village massacre earlier this month that's still under investigation. When was this? It just says earlier this month on AP News. But this was published on November 13th, so it must be pretty recent.
Is that all the information that's available?
Yeah, everything else is just like jargon around it.
Yeah, I don't know. Matthew, we were just there. And there, we didn't hear anything. And we spent some of our time in Wagga, and we didn't hear anything. So the temples are safe, if that's your concern. I know that's your question. But yeah, the temple, things are okay at the temple. But yeah, I didn't know anything about that. I'm gonna talk to, the people that would be able to find out for real what's going on, and then get back to you guys on the next week's show. You guys can remind me, because I might forget, but can find out for you and get some more information, because I don't know if it's fake news, Matthew. I just don't know. We didn't hear anything, but then again, I'm not CNN, so I'm not exactly. I wasn't there in Burkina walking around, as a investigative journalist, looking for stories. So I don't know, but we'll see what we can find out and get back to you. But yeah. So then why don't we hop into rapid fire, Kenny Bashi? Because I know the ladies are terrified. If I start asking them more and more questions about the goals of MTOM.
It just gets more and more tense.
Exactly. Now they're like, we're not going to say anything because you're going to use it against us.
All right. First up on Rapid Fire, we have a man sets himself ablaze in advocacy for genocide victims in Congo. So, the unidentified man was seen standing in front of a crowd in Kinshasa, the nation's capital, holding a sign saying, "Stop the genocide in Congo." The man proceeds to pour gasoline on himself before lighting a match and becoming consumed by the flames. Passerbyers tried to help him. They tried to put the fire out, but he pushed them off and just fell to the floor on fire, and he burned for a while. But then there was some people that managed to help him out, and it's not clear whether or not he's alive or not based on the reports. So
Gosh.
It says the protester's condition and state are unknown, as well as his background and motive. So
yeah, that's unfortunate that someone would get to a point where they feel like they have to douse themselves in gasoline and set themselves on fire in order to bring attention to what's going on, or to get assistance globally. Because the problem is we definitely have a problem with the way the news is skewed toward what the powers that be want you to focus on, because there's a lot of stuff that's happening in Merita. There's a lot of stuff that's happening in Congo. There's a lot of stuff that's happening in Sudan. There's a lot of things that are happening in Niger. There's a lot of things that are happening in South Africa. There's a lot of things that are happening in many different parts of the world. And if the mainstream media doesn't deem it valuable or not useful to their skewed agenda, then they're not going to focus on it. Because I've seen a lot of things on social media that's about, okay, it's great that there's a lot of attention being focused on what's happening in Gaza, but there's not any attention being focused on what's happening in Congo. There's not any attention happening on what's happening in Sudan and other different parts of the world in terms of everything that's going on in the world. But it makes you kind of think to yourself, if that's the way they function with the news, then you can only imagine what else they've hidden from you in the past and what they've got you to focus on. Because I went to public school, and I went to public school in America. So I clearly remember when we started history, like we started the real history class, like in like 4th grade or 5th grade, like where you start getting like the real kind of curriculum that the public schools are supposed to give you. And I remember we would have to go to a very specific teacher in the school to start learning like history. And they start with very, very briefly, like it was like a day or something like that. They start with, okay, they kind of touch on the ancient Egyptian history. And then like they go bam, splat so fast into the Greeks. And then you focus on the Greeks for like months. And then they go into ancient Greece. They go into how they built everything and this and that and all this kind of stuff. And they don't give any credit to the real people that the Greeks went and learned everything from. So, you know, the way you do one thing is the way you do everything else. And if they do that with history, then you can bet they're going to do that with, you know, with the news. Because the thing is, you know, we're dealing with people that are, a lot of the people that even claim to be, you know, abiding by a false history from that region. Even, you know, what they want to tell you, you know, okay, yeah, the Jews were slaves and this and that. And it's a conversation for another day, but there's a lot of, you know, bullshit that's in the history books that it's no surprise that they're not focusing or placing a value on African lives, and they never have. So it's not surprising, but it's expected to a certain extent. So, yeah, it's unfortunate that that Congolese man felt the need to do that in order to bring awareness to what's happening, and hopefully that situation in the Congo is resolved and gets resolved, you know, swiftly. I don't know if you guys have anything to add, or you guys want to. I think you guys look like you're trying to sit back as far as possible from the mics.
No, please don't.
I was just listening.
No, you guys are like, no.
I think you basically, you know, you said it very well. It's just the fact that he had to. The only way to catch people's attention was just setting himself on fire, you know, to that extreme. And then he also had a sign in his hand, like he's like this, you know, he just hit a breaking point, basically. And I do hope, you know, I hope he's okay to some degree, you know.
I don't know.
I hope he's alive.
Gasoline like that.
Or he gets help for, you know.
Like, I'm looking at this burn I have on my leg from, like, just barely touching like the exhaust on a moto with my leg, and like it burns.
Yeah, he definitely hit a breaking point.
Like, yeah.
Well, in
Good
that
luck.
same vein of what Tutipsu was talking about, where, you know, something like that might happen, and there may have been many other things that have been hidden. Another daunting kind of thing that's coming from the Congo. Recently, there was a report of World Health Organization employees taking part in sexual abuse during the Ebola crisis that happened in Congo. So there was a report that recently came out, and basically more than 88 workers, including some employed by the World Health Organization, were involved in sexual abuse and exploitation during the Ebola crisis in the Democratic Republic of Congo. There was a probe, basically, like somebody pushed for someone to probe on like information that was coming from that time, based on more than 50 women had accused aid workers from the World Health Organization and other charities of demanding sex in exchange for jobs between 2018 and 2020.
So the World Health Organization, let's say that again. The World Health Organization, those are the same people that the world, the whole entire world deferred to during the COVID pandemic, right? Come to find that they, and this was 2018?
2018 till 2020.
2018 till 2020 was engaged in behavior where they were withholding resources, withholding opportunities, and only giving them if you were willing to get on the casting couch. So the interesting thing is we're sitting here and we're talking about the World Health Organization. We're sitting here and we're talking about these institutions that are, you got something to add?
Yeah, there was like a added detail that they were even paying people to keep quiet about it.
A word?
Yeah,
So they're paying people off?
exactly.
So then that means that not only were they copying to it, then they were like, yeah, you know, let's make sure it just goes away. See, like that's really interesting because where there's smoke, there's fire. Because there's a lot of people that talk about the World Health Organization being corrupt or the World Health Organization being, now we could be getting into the murky territory where people start talking about conspiracies. In terms of functioning as an arm or an extension of perpetuating or instituting or enacting certain agendas from certain powers that be. And the interesting thing is, why would the World Health Organization feel like they're in a position to be doing any of those things if they're truly out there helping people? And if they're truly out there trying to bring awareness to these so-called pandemics or these so-called, you know, health crises that we find throughout the world, if that's what they're really focusing on. Because then it makes you think, like I remember, I think we were at security at the airport and we were going to, this is when we were going to Merita. And there was a lady that, I think Tutanen and Zawaz were talking to. It was like a white lady that was behind us. It was a lady and her daughter. And afterward, I was like, well, what was going on? And then he was like, yeah, she was saying that she wanted the information of whatever we do because she donates to a lot of nonprofits. And she would like to donate to our nonprofit. The amount of people that I have conversations with when they kind of ask me some of the things like, oh, what do you like? What do you do? What are you involved in? And I tell them, well, you know, I work with a nonprofit and this is what we do, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. And then they're like, oh, like there's an accountant that I was supposed to work with. And then she was like, I need to teach you the ins and the outs of the way nonprofits fuck people out of money. And I was like, we're not that kind of nonprofit. And then she was like, are you sure? She was like, because there could be like a treasure trove of money that they're sitting on that they're not telling you about. And I was like, no, you don't understand. I know we're not that kind of nonprofit. Like, I know there's no treasure trove of money that we're sitting on that, you know, we're hiding. I'm like, I know for a fact we don't have it. And then she's like, yeah, but you know, you never know where that money's going and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, I'm telling you, we're not that kind of nonprofit. But that's kind of like the sentiment that a lot of people have. Like, everybody knows that nonprofits are a part of the game within the world where you just start a nonprofit. And then what you do is you use a nonprofit in order to hide behind, in order to do your shady dealings, and in order to do the kind of corrupt shit that you don't want to be held accountable for. Because the UN in and of itself, if I'm not mistaken, the UN, I think, is a nonprofit. And the UN has a military, right? So then it's sort of like you can't really hold a nonprofit, or you really can't. It's a nonprofit, right? The UN? Yeah, the United Nations is a nonprofit. So a nonprofit is there. Now we're going to start talking about the real way that you play the game within the Greco-Roman society. And the Jews are phenomenal at this, which is why now their game is being kind of put back on them in terms of everything that's happening with the world and Israel. Because what's happening is the game has always been, it's not about what you're doing, but it's about what can be proven about what you're doing. And that's the game. And that's the corporate game. That's the white man's game. That's the white man's system game, which is it's not about what you're doing. It's about what can be proven about what you're doing. That's why the so-called justice system is about, you know, you're innocent until proven otherwise. It's about the arguments that you can make, because it's always about what can be proven about what you were doing. Because if you can find a good enough reason and you can say it with a straight face and you can justify it, then people will give you a way out and an excuse to say like, hey, you know what? Yeah, that's justifiable. Because that's what's happening right now in Israel, is they're saying that, yeah, you know what? The reason justifies the amount of innocent and civilian lives that you're taking. It's justifiable. And that's why I think there was something about TikTok, about Osama bin Laden, some sort of letter about Osama bin Laden, like some letter Osama bin Laden had to America, where he was basically criticizing the Western policy on the Middle East and what's going on in Israel and Palestine. And then I guess it's going viral because people are agreeing. The younger people on TikTok are agreeing with what Osama bin Laden was saying. Now, this is the interesting thing, is the World Health Organization, Israel, the UN, you know, the Red Cross, you name it, all these countless nonprofits are out there and they're doing what they're doing. And think about all the money that's donated to these nonprofits. Think about all the money that goes to these organizations. And that's just the money you can prove that's going to these organizations. That's just the energy that you can prove is going into these systems. And then you have to think about things from the perspective of understanding that all of these organizations are just different arms on the same monster. And they're there to make you think that they're somehow different. They're doing something that's somehow, you know, not the same as somewhere else. Because then you're like, well, no, the Red Cross, like, yeah, they're out there. Doctors Without Borders, like, yeah, they're out there. Like, yeah, this, that, all this kind of stuff. But then the problem is all of these institutions are just extensions of the colonial terrorism that is enacted in the name or justified in the name of things that are done every day. Every day. But the only difference is can you prove it? And that's the game. And that's the game that Israel is having being turned back on itself, is now the rest of the world is saying, like, enough is enough. You cannot say that it is justifiable. And now they're turning the game that Israel plays back on itself. And it's so interesting because you're really watching Israel do a lot of gymnastics and backflips trying to get out of accountability. So it's going to be really, really interesting seeing the way a lot of these organizations, like the World Health Organization, finds its credibility or somehow gets its credibility back when something like this comes out, that you're in a position of so-called responsibility, or service to these so-called underprivileged areas. And yet what you're doing is you're going in and you're abusing that so-called power, that so-called position where you're assisting people or serving people, and you're just using it as a means of exploitation, because that's all these things really are. Because what that account is talking about is real and is true. But you have to be able to think for yourself and understand the games that are being played and what's happening in real time in front of you with all of these organizations.
Well said. Moving on. Next up, we have Korea is banning eating dog. So,
Okay.
I wonder
So-
why.
so in Seoul, South Korea, they're planning to introduce a ban on dog meat consumption by the end of 2027, I believe it is. Seoul authorities have said eating dog meat is neither explicitly prohibited nor legalized in South Korea, and successive governments have failed to make progress on pledges to stop the practice. Public and political momentum right now to outlaw dog meat has been growing in the country as the centuries-old practice has fallen out of favor, mostly with young Koreans, and has also attracted some international criticism from international rights activists, which sounds a lot like America.
It's the World Health Organization.
Exactly.
It's all connected.
Yeah, they're like, no, it's PETA. So this is interesting, right? Because what you're finding is like, so I used to work for Samsung. So I'm a little bit aware of Korean culture because my sister used to work for Samsung too. That's how I got the job. And because I would never be like, let me go work at Samsung. But there was a story about how there was it's like notorious. Samsung is notorious for not being able to retain the, what do you call it? The Silicon Valley talent, because they don't have the same company values that like Apple has, because Samsung's main competitor is Apple and vice versa. And they're notorious for not being able to retain Silicon Valley talent because Americans don't want to work within the Korean environment, because the Korean managers that they bring over for Korea, because Samsung is a Korean company. Samsung is actually like technically like they run South Korea. Like that's how powerful Samsung is. Samsung's so powerful that they have their own military. That's how powerful Samsung is. Yeah, Samsung's huge. Like there was like a bunch of things that came out like years ago about how they basically pick the presidents every year, or like that's how powerful Samsung is. It's like corporations here. So
But everybody knows it for South Korea.
yeah, right. But now it's like everybody knows it. Now, the interesting thing is that like the stories that will come out is that the managers are so rigid and they're so serious that there was a younger employee that was talking to one of the managers, right? And the manager was an older Korean person, cultured, been around within traditional values, all that kind of stuff. And the manager slapped the employee across the face because the employee had his hands in his pockets when he was talking to him. And he slapped him and was like, get your hands out of your pockets. And then countless other stories, because my sister worked in HR and she'd be like, God, I'm dealing with a situation. And I'd be like, what is it now? And then she would be like, well, now there's like this young girl that quit because her manager is an older Korean lady, and then she's like, "Why aren't you married?" She's like, "When are you getting married?" She's like, "When are you having kids?"
That's like every elder, though.
But that's every elder, right?
Yeah.
Because
They
the
don't.
older generation is unwilling or not adapting the Western culture, whereas that the younger people in Korea are adopting the Western culture. So it's not surprising to hear that South Korea is just now banning eating dogs. If that's a part of their culture, that's a part of their culture. You can't take that away from them. The interesting thing is that now the younger generation is going to be moving away from that. And we'll see how that works out in the long run. I don't want Peter to come at me. So let me just say, what I'm saying is, let the Koreans have their culture. They eat dogs, they eat dogs. Okay? Leave them alone.
All right, leaving the Koreans alone. On to some American stuff. So, Bernie Sanders breaks up a fist fight in the Senate.
No way.
Bernie Sanders.
So, at the Senate, there was a health, education, labor, and pensions committee. It was a hearing. So, an argument almost turned into a fist fight between Senator Mark Wayne Mullen of Oklahoma and the president of the Teamsters Union, Sean O'Brien. So the exchange occurred when Mullen, who was a former MMA fighter, he recalled an interaction that he had with O'Brien on Twitter. So Mullen read aloud O'Brien's his tweet, which said, "A greedy CEO who pretends like he's self-made, in reality just a clown and a fraud, always has been, always will be. Quit the tough guy act in the Senate hearings. You know where to find me. Any place, anytime, cowboy." And I quote, end quote. Then Mullen then said at the hearing, "Sir, this is a time, this is a place. Oh. You want to run your mouth? We can be two consenting adults and we can finish it here." Then O'Brien said, "Okay, that's fine, perfect." Then O'Brien said, "I'd love to do it right now."
What?
And then Mullen said, "Then stand your butt up." O'Brien said, "You stand your butt up." And then Mullen stood up, and the committee's chairman, Senator Bernie Sanders, stopped the altercation from happening, yelling at Mullen, "Stop it. No, sit down. You know you're a United States Senator."
That's the most real thing I've heard come out of the United States government in the past 4 years. Because no one can take anything that's happening with the Biden administration serious. So that is the most interesting thing or real thing I've heard in the past 4 or 5 years, honestly. I hope they worked it out on the Senate floor.
Okay, last one.
You guys know you can chime in on the rapid fire stuff, right? Yeah, but you guys are
hiding from the mic. All right, last one. So amidst everything that's going on in Israel, this seems kind of trivial at first, but it has roots if you follow what Tutipsa was saying earlier. There's some Indonesians that are boycotting McDonald's right now.
Indonesians?
Yeah, there are Indonesians that are boycotting McDonald's, but they're boycotting the McDonald's in Israel because supposedly the McDonald's in Israel announced on social media that they had handed out thousands of free meals to the Israeli military when they were at war with Hamas.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like they're saying, okay, you're outrightly showing that you're in support
of what's
of
happening.
whatever
Right.
the what is it, the
The
Israeli-
IDF.
IDF. Yeah.
The Israeli Defense
Exactly.
Federation, something like
So
that.
yeah, they're trying to take out McDonald's.
Yeah, I mean, again, here we are. Like, what did you think McDonald's is gonna do with their money? Like, that's the thing is like, you know, these organizations, like, you think they're gonna take everything that they're getting and that they're benefiting from and then spit in the face of those things? No, that's not the way it works. McDonald's is going to support what Israel is doing because McDonald's is a result of a post-colonial terroristic society. McDonald's doesn't exist in certain parts of the world because why the hell would it exist? Like, it's so interesting coming back, looking at all the fast food places. Like last night, I think it was around like 1 o'clock or something, and I was still up, and I was saying to myself, I was like, I'm kind of hungry right now. And then I looked at the TV, and it was a Taco Bell commercial. And I'm looking at the Taco Bell commercial, and then the way they're like partying and eating the Taco Bell, and like the party and the way that they feel eating the Taco Bell, I'm like, bro, that is not the way you feel when you eat Taco Bell. Like, you feel the exact opposite. Like, you finish eating, and then you're like,
What did I just do?
what have I done? Like, you're like, why did I do that
I
to
just
myself?
trapped myself.
Yeah, like, I
What a
just
trap.
poisoned myself. Like, you feel like you've just drank like a gallon of just like cement. And I was sitting there thinking to myself, I'm like, how many people eat at Taco Bell on a daily basis? How many people eat at Wendy's on a daily basis? How many people eat at Chick-fil-A? How many people at a McDonald's? Yada, 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 you name it. Even on our way to Merita, we stopped off in Turkey because you can't fly Air France because they banned Air France in Burkina Faso. Shout out to Traoré, President Traoré. You know, hope you continue to have the support that you have globally, and that you continue to lead, you know, not only Burkina Faso but the continent of Merita in the direction that you're taking it in, because it's sorely been lacking from a leader, particularly in Africa. And I really started to think about even like, you know, they cloned Tyrone. And like how when they cloned Tyrone, how they're like, it's the drugs that they're putting in the food, and then what they're putting in the chicken and all that kind of stuff. And then I really started to think about it, and then I'm like, man, I was like, this stuff that everyone's eating, like everything is poison in the Western society. The content, poison. The food, poison. The, like, what you do on a daily basis, poison.
Your environment.
Environment,
How you live.
poison. How you live. Go ahead.
Just like everything.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah.
Everything is poison. And then I'm sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, and I'm like, man, because me and Kenny Bosch were talking about this before the show started, because I was looking at some of the, someone had dropped off some sweets, and I was looking at the sweets, and I'm like, the thing is, every time I pass the sweets, there's a part of me that's like, just eat one. And then there's a part, and then like, I'm just like, nah, I'm not falling for this game anymore. And I'm just like, nah, I'm good. Because I keep telling myself, I'm like, that's how it starts. Like, you take one bit of poison from one aspect, and then you slowly just start getting more and more comfortable with the other types of poison. And the thing is, are you guys expecting McDonald's to be a bastion of moral, humane philosophy? Yeah. Their whole concept is, how can we put the biggest amount of poison at the least cost in order to make the biggest amount of profit? There's so many McDonald's out there There's so many Burger Kings. That's why when we were stopping in Turkey at the airport, there was a Burger King. I'm telling you, I almost didn't even eat it, but I was like, it's the only thing, right? But this is the thing, is like, that's the way America and the colonial terroristic institutions function. These things are going to support the institutions that they are born of. And these institutions are born of doing what? They're born of going and imposing themselves on other people. Indigenous societies, indigenous communities, and saying, now we run the show. Now we're the ones in charge. Now we're the ones that get to do this. We're the ones that get to tell you how to use your time keeping mediums. We're the ones that get to tell you how and when you get to pray, how and when you get to do this, all these different things that you do that you empower yourself, because now I'm the one making the rules. So now you're thinking that all these thousands of years later, now that we're living in the world of McDonald's, we're living in the world of Burger Kings, we're living in the world of Apple, we're living in the world of all these other institutions that make you feel like everything that you're doing is a choice. Everything that you're doing is up to you, and you think we're not living in a result of what was done all those thousands of years that beset us on this path to begin with, where we find ourselves, then you're a fool. Indonesia, it doesn't end and start with McDonald's. And I would highly suggest that, you know what, yes, I agree, maybe you should boycott McDonald's, but the thing is that McDonald's is not where it ends, and it's not where it starts. It starts somewhere else entirely. Hey, more power to you. Shut it down. Shut down the whole establishment. If you can eradicate McDonald's off the face of the planet, then I think that's a huge win for humanity to begin with. But I don't know if it's going to happen, Indonesia, but hey, more power to you. But my advice to you is, don't ingest the poison. Like, who gives a shit if McDonald's is supporting the Israeli military? You don't expect them to? If the Israeli military falls, Israel falls, you think America is gonna fall too? Like, America, everything that America is, Israel is just like its spawn. Israel is just there perpetuating and doing everything else that America does. So yeah, of course. What else? Indonesia, please tell us. Tell us how to eradicate colonialism off the face of the earth. But maybe we shouldn't start with McDonald's.
All right, good people. That's it for rapid fire.
Well, we appreciate you guys for tuning in. This has been another episode of the Gated Gates podcast. You know, we know you could be doing anything else. It's a Friday night. I know if I wasn't doing this, who knows what I would be doing. But we appreciate you guys for tuning in. We appreciate you guys for, you know, being listeners and for checking it out. There's so many different resources that you can find out about the Earth Center and everything that we do. There's Unconscious Natural Healing. There's so many things that we do. I would just suggest, you know, find out more and, you know, do what you can. There's a lot of stuff, you know, you can go observe classes. You can do so many different things. So, you know, we appreciate you guys for tuning in, and we hope you guys continue to tune in. We hope you guys continue to support and be a part of this, and hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you got something out of this. And like, comment, subscribe, share, all of those different things. And, yeah, we'll get back with you guys next week. Idiot has been another episode of the Gated Gates podcast. We'll see you guys.